You are looking live at Rabobank Stadium. It is March 10th, 2022, a day that the city of Salinas will use to remember one of their own, Jorge Alvarado Jr., who died in the line of duty. The service just getting underway. Good morning, everyone. I'm Dan Green.
And I'm Maren Clark. We are remembering Officer Alvarado, known as JD to family, friends, and colleagues. And by anybody who knew him and loved him, he was just one of the good guys, a really great human being who was a rising star in Salinas PD. And
from the moment he graduated from high school, this is someone who put himself in the line, in front of any challenge to support others. Joining the United States Army, coming out of high school. He's served as a police officer since getting out of the Army, and in Colma up in the Bay Area, and here in Salinas 2 years until that fateful day, February 25th at about 11 o'clock at night, when a traffic stop went bad and he was taken from us, taken from the city of Salinas. And so he will be remembered today in a service that is essentially just about to get underway. Just moments ago, his casket was wheeled in. You can see it there, draped in the flag on the bottom left of your screen.
And I believe that we might be listening to the national anthem right now by Justine Russo, who's a retired Marina police corporal. And over the next couple of hours, we will hear a lot more about the life of JD Alvarado. As Dan mentioned, he was an Afghan vet,
Craig,
5 years in the police force.
Prayer now.
Here's Greg Sandman.
Would you pray with me? Well, Father, you remind us in Psalm 23, which says, even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. And we know that courage is not simply one of the virtues, but the form of every virtue of the testing point. We're all tested today. But you also give us the ability to forge strength and resiliency. I pray that you would help us gain strength and courage today. We thank you for Officer Alvarado and his life and the tremendous influence he has made in the lives of so many. And most of all today, I pray that amidst the tremendous grief that we can leave here inspired by his life. We pray this in your name. Amen.
Our first speaker today is the Honorable Mayor of Salinas, Kimberly Craig.
What do you say? Last night, I stared at a blank laptop screen, unsure, unable, unwilling to put my thoughts down on paper. What do you say to a mother who was so proud of her son, an Army veteran, becoming a police officer? What do you say to his 3 brothers, a military and law enforcement family, all 4 boys, JD included, named after their father, Jorge? What do you say to a fiancee, his high school sweetheart, who planned a wedding only to be at a funeral today? I don't know what to say, except I'm sorry. I'm so terribly sorry. The past several days have been really contemplative for me as the mayor here in Salinas. We are a hardworking community. We struggle with crime, and not surprisingly, there are a lot of differing opinions on how to address that. There are hints at politicizing the death of an officer in our community. The national narrative of defunding the police, the debate on whether more officers equates to less crime, all controversial and hardline stances that can fracture any community. Our community in Salinas is hurting right now. J.D. Alvarado's family is hurting. Our police department is hurting. So what can we do, and where do we go as a community? I don't have all of the answers, but what I can share with you is the light of our community this past week. 5,000 yards, equal to the length of 50 football fields, of blue and yellow ribbon wrapped around trees through 22 square miles by over 50 volunteers, showing their support of Salinas Police Department. Thousands of people, thousands, have stopped by SPD to pay their respects to the memorial for JD. Food from loving abuelitas and Girl Scouts and volunteer groups and Salinas families have poured into the police department. A dozen lowrider car clubs holding a vigil, praying for the healing of the Alvarado family, of the department, and of our city as a whole. The faith-based community has held our city in prayer, with hundreds of people lifting us up to God. That isn't political. That is love and empathy and the good of our community working towards healing. I want to take a moment to address all the first responders here today, the police, the firefighters, the paramedics. For those of you who don't know, each one of these individuals in uniform takes an oath of office to support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic. The uniforms you see here today are representative of individuals who have promised to protect and serve their respective communities, putting their lives on the line, sometimes prioritizing us over and above their own families. J.D. Alvarado wore his Salinas Police Department uniform proudly, with that big, wide smile he had, and served our community with honor. He also gave the ultimate sacrifice while protecting us. Last week, amidst our darkest days, I had the privilege of speaking with the Salinas police commander who said he hadn't seen the residents give this kind of support to Salinas PD since 9/11, over 20 years ago. It lasted a week or so and then subsided. At the end of the service today, our work as a community is not done. Our department needs to heal. We need to heal. It is going to take time. It will be much, much longer than just a week or so. So I ask you, the residents of Salinas and the residents of Monterey County, to wrap your support around the city and around Salinas Police Department for as long as we need to heal. It is a way to honor J.D. Alvarado and his service and sacrifice to all of us here in Salinas. Thank you.
Our next speaker is the city manager, Steve Carrington.
Good morning, Salinas. I'd like to get a couple of thank yous out of the way. I'd like to thank everyone for coming out. We have representatives from law enforcement as far away as New York City here today. We have the Attorney General, Rob Monta. Welcome, sir. And thank you for coming. I'd like to thank the California Highway Patrol. When we have incidents like this or events like this, they come in and they provide a service. They work with a committee from the police department to put on a beautiful event like this. And so Reggie Williams and Craig Root and your team of all-stars, thank you. And as city manager, I actually get to say this to the law enforcement agencies that came in and patrolled our streets so that our guys could take a 5-minute break and catch their breath. Thank you, and we won't ever forget it. And if you ever need anything, please call me first. We will be on our way, code 3, to your location. So thank you. JD joined the military. He went in the Army. No one made him do it. He did it on his own. He volunteered. Then he joined the Colma Police Department. And again, no one made him do it. He did it on his own. It's because he wanted to, and he volunteered. And finally, he joined the Salinas Police Department. Again, ain't nobody made him do it. He did it because he wanted to, he volunteered. And volunteerism is first mentioned in the Bible in the book of the prophet Isaiah 6:8, where it's written, "Also, I heard the voice of the Lord." And think about that for a minute. I heard the voice of the Lord. I heard the voice of the Lord saying, "Who shall I send, and who shall go for us?" Then said I, "Here am I, send me." Jorge David Alvarado Jr., JD, may the road rise to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face and the rains fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. Thank you, Salinas.
Our next speaker is the Chief of Police of the Salinas Police Department, Chief Roberto Felice.
Good morning, and thank you for being here with us. This is the most difficult moment that the Salinas Police Department and the Salinas community is going to have to face. To JD's family, thank you. To Veronica, thank you. As a police chief, it's definitely a hard message to send to the family, to say thank you for giving your son to us. To the rest of the Salinas family, this is what departments are made of. We're fighters. JD has set up the path that we're going to follow. JD was a fighter, was a warrior. There is a narrative about whether we're guardians, we're warriors. JD was both. On the tragic night, JD showed us what our hero is made of. He fought to the end. We know that he fought to the end because that was him. He's a warrior. He does everything 100%. And then all of you that work with him, you know that he came by you on your calls, not to check up on you to tell you that you're doing it wrong, but to let you know, I'm there. I will be your guardian. The Alvarado family, Mama Marina, gave us a son, gave us a wonderful human being. The Army, the Colma Police Department, the Salinas Police Department made him into the warrior that he is. And God made him into a hero for us. Let's learn from what he left for us. And what he left for us is that we have to give it 100%, no matter what. We took an oath to take care of our communities. And to my fellow brothers and sisters out there, I know you're doing the same for your communities. We don't worry about politics. We just worry about love. We shall love one another. And for us, to my Salinas family, this is going to be a deciding moment for us as to what we're made of. Based on what I'm seeing, we're made of iron. There is nothing that can bend us. We're fighters, we're warriors, we're guardians. Most important, we're human beings. JD came to us to guard upon us. And when the time came, he had no problem giving his life for us. Interestingly enough, that's just JD. He has to do everything 100%. So when God sent his angel down to get him, JD said, no, hold on a second. I got to finish this job. And he did. He gave us enough clues so that we could arrest the person that killed him. And that's JD. 100%, no matter what. Never complained about taking a shift. And when he came out, he gave it 100%. That's what I'm going to expect to each and every one of us every single day when we come to work. We shall give 100% because that's what JD is all about. Yeah, there's going to be healing time. Yes, we're going to suffer. Yes, it's going to be difficult. And that's when we turn to one another and we say, I need your help. And we know we're going to be there because we are a family. And as a family, we stand together. We pray together. We suffer together. When JD came to the police department, I still remember the fact that the only thing he wanted to do was serve his community. That's it. Didn't want to be a hero, didn't want to be recognized, didn't want anything, just wanted to serve his community. And that's what he did. When we gave him the badge, and we all know, in our oath, we know that the badge represents public trust. JD, you had the trust of 165,000 people. But more important, and I know you're looking from upstairs, I know you're going to be very proud of us. Just look around you. Your extended family is here to pay you tribute. It was one of the most honorable things that could happen to me was to be the chief of JD, and I would never forget that honor. That badge came with a lot of weight, and unfortunately, now I'm going to have to give the badge over to Mom. But Mom needs to remember, and the Alvarado family needs to remember, what JD did for us would never be forgotten.
You are watching live coverage of the memorial service for Officer Jorge Alvarado Jr. of the Salinas Police Department, killed in the line of duty right now. Chief Felice making the presentation of the badge to Alvarado's mother.
As you know, JD was part of the Coloma Police Department as well. Commander Sherwin Lum will speak to us next.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Commander Sherwin Lum with the Como Police Department. Bear with me that this is a really tough time for our department. We've had 3 major losses in our department in the last year, and this really sealed the deal for us. We're broken. For those of you wondering where the town of Como is located, here's a quick geography lesson. Not to be mistaken for Coloma, we're a small suburban town located just 10 minutes south of San Francisco. The town is roughly 2.2 square miles and is known for its 16 cemeteries, shopping centers, auto row, and casino. There are approximately 2,000 living residents in our town and about 1.8 million souls resting in our cemeteries. On behalf of Chief Muncie and the entire Como Police Department, I'd like to extend our deepest condolences to George's family, including his mother, Marina, his fiancee, Veronica, his brothers, and the entire Alvarado family. George fortified very tight relationships in our department. It's an understatement for me to even say that. I'd like to take a quick moment just to thank the Salinas Police Department for allowing us to be part of the service, because George was truly one of our family members. And it's been an honor to be able to honor him the way we are today. George worked for our agency from 2016 to 2020. I first met George when he walked in for his interview. He was a man of few words, but he immediately lit up the room with his contagious smile, and I instantly knew there was something special about him. His passion to be a police officer showed through his body language and the way he spoke from the heart. I knew immediately George was the right fit for our department. You see, working in a smaller agency, it has its benefits in that it's much easier to select a candidate based on fit, whereas a larger agency, it might be a little more difficult because essentially you have to hire in larger numbers, and that could be difficult to get to know or get a feel for the actual person. Well, I had that luxury, and George fit the bill perfectly. He was the right person for the job and the right fit to serve our community. People knew George by many different names: Jorge, George, JD, David, Little Blue, Alvy. But the Como Police Department family knew him as Koala. Yeah, like the animal, koala. Now, he didn't introduce himself as Koala to us. Oh, no. We learned of the nickname when one of the officers asked George for a ride from the local BART station. George unintentionally responded through a text message with a koala emoji and a heart emoji. Our officer was puzzled by this response and replied, what? Without hesitation, George texted back without any embarrassment at all and said, that was meant for my Veronica. Veronica not only gave us the perfect nickname for George at work, but is also solely responsible for bringing George into all of our lives. Veronica was the one who found the job listing for Como PD, encouraged him to apply, and was the one that actually walked in the police station with his application. In George's own words, during the lateral going away party we had for him, he said this, end quote, "If it wasn't for Veronica, I wouldn't have met all of you lovely people." And I'll never forget when he looked over at me and humbly thanked me for giving him the job opportunity to start his career. So Veronica, thank you for walking through those doors that day and allowing us to build so many wonderful memories with your koala. I'll never forget the day I made the drive down to Monterey County to attend George's academy graduation. He smiled from ear to ear when he saw me and looked shocked that I drove all the way out there to join him and his family in one of the biggest moments of his life. I was honored to be there and will always remember the happiness on his face as he looked forward to starting his new day. But little did I know how expensive he would be to our department vehicle fleet. This was one thing about George that drove me through the roof. Though the number is still unclear, George was involved in quite a few traffic collisions. There were a few times George walked by my office and I would say, "George, come on, another car?" He always looked at me with that infectious smile and said, "Yeah, sorry, sir." One of my more memorable stories was when George chased a brand new Chevrolet SS that left him and his old Crown Victoria in the dust. Trying to catch up, George lost control, and according to George, a large group of bushes jumped out in front of his car. After crashing into the bushes, George continued to pursue and ultimately lost the suspect. After coming back to the station, his sergeant at the time, the late Sergeant Kevin Nishida, began pulling large chunks of branches and debris off the rear of the car and said, "Oh, we could just buff this out. We could buff the damage out. No harm, no foul." Little did they both know the whole axle of the car had been hanging from the frame of the vehicle. And in Sergeant Nishida's fine words, he said, "You're going to have to take a hit for this one." There's no doubt in my mind that they're both looking down on us right now, reminiscing on these types of nights. But let there be no mistake. George brought priceless life experiences and his honorable character into our department. George served on the department's bicycle patrol unit and was a range instructor. One of our current officers was a community service officer while George was in coma and was encouraged by George to apply for a position as a police officer. While in the academy, he constantly felt like he was going to fail out during the range qualification. Once George caught wind of this, he began coming in on his days off to help him practice, always reassuring him and telling him not to worry. Because of that, the officer passed the academy and received an award for his improved performance at the range. That's just the type of person George was. As Veronica mentioned during the rosary, George was tender-hearted and a kind soul. Early on in his training, George's politeness and trust in people really showed through when he would ask his training officers why suspects would walk away from them or lie to them about their names. He said, "I mean, we're the police." These memories great speakly to the gentleness of George, his innocence, and his faith in mankind. Not only do we have our amazing memories of George as a police officer, but we also have our memories of George as our brother. Our Como family is very privileged in the fact that we are a small department, which has allowed our families, including spouses and children, to bond outside of work. Whether it was going to bars in the city, ice skating, taking George to his first Vietnamese restaurant where he fell in love with the food, pho, George and Veronica were always there and showed up. Whoever had the honor of being around them together knew what an undeniable connection they had and the deep love they shared for each other. A love so strong that Veronica would have breakfast prepared for George by the time he got off swing shift or night shift, something many other jealous officers shared with their wives, hoping for the same. George made his decision to lateral to the Salinas Police Department to start the next chapter of his life with Veronica, and they were excited to buy a home and get married and start a family. Although we were sad to be losing such an amazing officer, we were happy to watch our brother embark on his new journey. Words honestly can't describe the pain we're all experiencing, knowing that this journey and their dreams were cut short by this senseless tragedy. George's calm, cool, and collected attitude paired with his warrior mentality is an inspiration to us all. And we can only hope to be a portion of the man George was. The common theme you'll hear from people who knew and worked with George is that he truly loved what he did, and it showed. I refuse to hear the old adage that police officers signed up for this. Yes, every day we don our uniforms and badge and put our lives on the line to protect, but George didn't deserve this. And now it's time for the community to step up for him and support your local police department. George stepped up to protect his community one last time, and he paid the ultimate sacrifice. So I'm asking you, the public, to go and support your police department. George was one of the good ones, but God always seems to take the best. George, I'm thankful that God allowed us to cross paths. We all promise to honor your memory every day. We will always look out for Veronica and your family. You will always have a special place in the Colma PD family. We miss you, buddy. We love you. We can't wait to see you again. I'll see you at final roll call.
One of the hardest things to do is to write a eulogy for a family member. I'd like to introduce Officer Jorge Ernesto Alvarado.
Set. Order. Order. Order.
Good morning, everyone. And thank you all for coming out to celebrate my brother, Jorge David Alvarado Jr., his life, as we pray to God that he welcomes him and his eternal soul into his kingdom. I am the oldest of 4 men born to Jorge Rene Alvarado and Marina Liliet Alvarado. Since the early age of 17, my brother committed himself to a life of service. He joined the United States Army as an infantryman with the 101st Airborne Division and deployed with his unit to Afghanistan during Operation Enduring Freedom. David, or D-Boy, as we would call him, was an American patriot who loved his country and followed in his brother's footsteps by serving the nation. After completing his enlistment with an honorable discharge and as a U.S. Army sergeant, he chose to continue his service by joining the ranks of the City of Colma Police Department. He worked for Colma PD for 4 years, and before transferring to the City of Salinas Police Department, where he served as a patrolman. During the time that he worked with Salinas PD, he touched so many people's lives, and that is evident through the amount of love and respect he has received even after death. Not only has he been honored by our department, but also by the community through the many who have visited his memorial set out in front of our police department. When I first learned of my brother's death, I couldn't help but blame myself for his passing. You see, while my brother served with the Colma Police Department, I would repeatedly try recruiting him to lateral to the Salinas Police Department. He would repeatedly express his love for Colma PD and would reject my attempts to get him to transfer. He eventually lateraled to our police department here in Salinas and was quickly welcomed with open arms as a member of the Salinas PD family. He loved working for the city of Salinas. I kept thinking to myself that had I not insisted as much as I did for him to transfer, that he may still be alive today. But after many countless prayers, God has removed that feeling of guilt over his death. God has reminded me that David was a man of service, and he died exactly as that, a service member. He lived by the warrior's ethos to put the mission first, to never accept defeat, to never quit, and to never leave a fallen comrade. He fought as a warrior on the night of February 25th, 2022. He fought until his final breath was taken from him and brought justice to himself. By never retreating during his final battle. His assassin was apprehended as a result of my brother's actions during combat. And today, I want us not to mourn him, but to celebrate his life while he was with us. Warriors live by a code and the belief that if that warrior is to fall, there is no greater honor or glory than to fall in battle. My brother, as every other police officer across our nation, raised his right hand willingly and swore an oath to protect and serve his fellow man. He swore this oath, clearly understanding that there may come a day where he may have to lay down his life for his comrades or his countrymen. He held the line with honor and fulfilled his duties until his final moments. His gallantry demonstrated in the heat of battle is one which we should all strive to emulate. My brother died a hero, and as such, his memory will always be held in the highest honor. I not only lost a blood brother on February 25th, 2022, but I also lost a brother in blue. I love you, David. And as your older brother, I couldn't be prouder. Many times since learning of your death, I have wished to have been there with you in your final moments. Many times I have wished I could have helped you in the battle that you faced that night. Many times I wish you could have come out unscathed. I wish you were still here with us, David, to continue protecting our community together, as was the intent when you lateraled to Salinas PD. I know that it will be hard to go on without you, but I also know that we must, as you would have done had it been me. I know that our sense of duty and our calling as guardians must forever be answered by men and women like you. You held the line, brother, and you paid the highest price in doing so. I am not only proud to call you my brother, but I am also proud to have been your brother in blue. Life just won't be the same for me after this. But one day we will meet again. In the meantime, you keep the demons and the devils away from heaven and protect heaven's gates as you protected us here on earth. To a great man, a great patriot, a great Army veteran, a great police officer, and to a great brother. May you rest in peace, my dear brother. May you rest in peace, my blood. These honors are dedicated to Salinas Police Officer Jorge David Alvarado Jr., badge number 213, End of watch, February 25th, 2022. We got the watch from here, brother. Rest easy. To my brothers and sisters in law enforcement, I leave you with the only words my heart can muster. Watch after one another, for we are all that we have in the heat of battle. Your loving brother, Salinas Police Officer Jorge Ernesto Alvarado, badge number 86, signing off. Thank you.
Our next speaker was planning a wedding, a joyous time. Please welcome Veronica Alvarado.
Good morning, everyone. I want to thank everyone for coming out and showing your support. For those who don't know me, I'm Veronica Alvarado, George's fiance. George and I met in high school many years ago and also began dating 12 years ago. Since then, George and I were always together. We were inseparable, each other's best friends. George was a courageous person who never backed down from a challenge. He was always willing to try new things, from hiking trails to off-roading trails to making the SWAT team. He met and overcame every obstacle. One thing that George loved to do was go off-roading in his Jeep. There are green trails for beginners, blue trails for intermediate, and black trails for advanced. At times, George would get this look in his eye, and that meant he wanted to try the black trails. There was one black trail on Hollister Hills with loose sand. George did it once when the sand was compacted. Because he did it once, he thought he can do it again. So we tried again on a hot day, but the Jeep started to roll backwards, and we thought we were going to die. There are several other times when we were on three wheels, and he knew that I was angry at him because I didn't want to fall. Even though this made me mad at the time, we always managed to laugh about it at the end of the day. George loved the outdoors because that's where he truly felt understood. He loved being one with nature, where he can scream and vent with no judgment. It was just him and God. George also had a nerdy side to him. He loved Harry Potter and Star Wars. The Mandalorian series and the Book of Boba Fett were his favorite shows. Although I never understood this side of him, I would love hearing him talk about it because it was something that made him happy. George and I both shared a mutual love for animals. On a call-in service in Salinas, George found a fish in a water bottle. When the sergeant asked, what were you going to do with it? He said, I was going to call Veronica to come pick it up. We ended up naming the fish Klaus from American Dad. I used to love meeting up with him at work when he had some downtime. We'd drink coffee and talk about our days and how everything was going. George loved dogs, and the highlights of his days were feeding the stray dogs of Salinas. And feeding the stray dogs of Salinas led to feeding stray cats in Salinas, which meant I had to go buy cat treats. I would pack dog treats and cat treats in his lunch bill every day so he can feed the strays, and then he would call me about it or send me pictures on his work phone. That was George, a very caring person. The only exception he was not caring was on cold days, because he would never share his jacket, and he always told me I should have brought my own. I enjoyed the little things with George, like packing his lunch every day. I would pack him a can of sparkling water, and I can separate his good days from his bad days. George always told me that he had a good day, but I knew on a good day his can was full, and I knew on a bad day his can would be crushed. George enjoyed talking about his Army days and how he missed it so much. George was consistently working, so I had to bend his leg to take time off. And within that time, we went to Universal Studios, Las Vegas, and New Orleans, and I'm so happy I did. Any trip or anything we had with friends, we always did our own thing. As long as we knew we had each other, we had a great time. One of the last memories I have with him was learning how to make Rockefeller oysters and Roy oysters. I wanted to learn how to make those because they're super expensive at restaurants, and we enjoyed eating them. So I learned how to make them so we can watch Boba Fett together, and we finished watching Mandalorian and Boba Fett series. I feel God gave us for each other, for the ups and downs, and grow together. We knew we did everything for each other. Our purpose was each other, and now I feel that my purpose is gone. George loved St. Patrick's Day, which was supposed to be a wedding day. George and I were each other's first boyfriend and girlfriends, and he'll always be my husband. Thank you so much for coming out and showing support. Have a good day.
Music selection is Folded Flag, performed by Greg Quirk, Gilroy Police Chaplain.
I'd seen you, we were shining like a diamond in that dress. We were just two kids when I went inside my name. And here I am, just a few months later, coming home to you. I'm flying with my brothers, yeah, we fought real hard. We're all packed up and heading home. And if you're reading this, there'll come a time real soon, family, friends, and flowers fill the room. And two men with starched white gloves fold the colors till they touch. It's probably more than I deserve, but I'm proud to get this much. Sending all the love I ever had inside this folded flag. Look at you. You're rounding out, but baby, wear it well. A little boy or girl, it's still too soon to tell. Wish I could be there now to hold you both. And if you're reading this, you're probably about to cry, and running through your head the questions why. As two men with starched white gloves fold the colors till they touch. It's probably more than I deserve, but I'm proud to get this much. Sending all the love I ever had inside this folded flag. It will sit here on the mantle for many years to come, and every time you pass it by, I hope you feel my love. Two men with starched white gloves fold the colors till they touch. It's probably more than I deserve, but I'm proud to get this much. I'm sending all the love I ever had inside this folded flag. I'm sending all the love I ever had inside this folded flag.
That is Greg Quirk of South Valley Community Church in Gilroy. Just an explanation of what's happening right now.
We are going to take a short break as they are going to show a video, and at the request of the family, they did not want that video shown on television. So obviously we are going to honor that request and give them a little time to show that video at Rabobank Stadium. Give us a chance to catch our breath a little bit and talk a little bit more about what's happening this morning, what's happened over the last 2 weeks in the city of Salinas, as really a community has been grieving, as well as, of course, the Alvarado family and the Salinas Police Department.
And we want to stress that there is more of this memorial service to come. We expect the video that the family does not want shared on television to run about 10 minutes. Then we will have the end of watch call, the flyover, and the release of doves in honor of Jorge J.D. Alvarado. One of the most touching moments, not only from his wife, soon-to-be wife, Veronica, his fiancee. They were to get married on St. Patrick's Day.
Next week?
Just a week from today. But one of the most touching moments coming from his brother, Jorge Ernesto, who was on Salinas PD and convinced George to come and do a lateral and come to Salinas PD and serve this community. Really, you know, one of the things that has happened over the past several years, and I think you're hearing it not only from Jorge Ernesto, but also from the chief, not only of Salinas, but also of Colma, is that these are human beings, and it's very easy over the past several years for people to slip into the fact that the person pulling you over because you were breaking the law isn't a person who can't wait for Mandalorian to come out and loves Boba Fett and was thrilled to take his wife to Vegas last week.
It is one of the nicest things is when you get to learn a little bit about the other side of the officer. J.B. Alvarado loved the outdoors, apparently, loved animals. Both he and Veronica rescued a lot of strays. It's nice to understand the human being, as you say.
And a lot of it is important, that these are things that come into the position that they hold in protecting each of us each and every day on the streets and putting their lives on the line. J.D. Alvarado doing that not only as a police officer, but also in the 101st Airborne in Afghanistan for the United States Army. Signed up out of high school shortly after he met Veronica, and they became high school sweethearts. What she has gone through as, to the person you love is in Afghanistan.
Right.
People are shooting at him. And then he comes back and he's on the streets, and she was supportive all the way. One of the most touching moments was the chief in Colma, who said that it was Veronica that brought George to them.
And here's a young woman planning her wedding, a wedding that is set to take place just a week from right now. So instead, she is attending the funeral of a man that she's been with since high school. And it is worth noting that, there was a lot of talk about J.D. Alvarado as a warrior. And he served in Afghanistan with distinction, coming home with several medals and then turning his service to police work in two stations.
It was 5 years in law enforcement, 3 years in Colma, 2 years with Salinas PD, more or less 4 years, so almost 5.5 to 6. And coming to a department, not easy, when your big brother is there, you know? I mean, you're going to be the butt of jokes and so on and so forth.
And he had a lot of nicknames.
Sure did.
We learned that today, yes.
But Jorge Alvarado Jr., one of 4 boys
All named
from
Jorge.
Jorge and Marina Alvarado, 2 of them serving the community of Salinas, and his life taken away from us on February 25th, just after 11 o'clock. His brother mentioned that moment and how Jorge made it possible for the authorities to be able to find the suspect in that case.
We do have Action News 8 reporter Felix Cortez live at Rabobank to give us a little insight of what it's like on the ground there, Felix.
Well, Dan, Aaron, it's a very somber event out here. There are several thousand people. I can make out that much. A lot of, obviously, a lot of sad faces. I saw some people wiping tears from their eyes. There are people here waving, that brought small flags with the blue line across it. But a really solemn, quiet, somber event where we're learning a lot more about JD, and we're hearing this from the fiance, from the brother, and even some interesting tidbits from his comrades and colleagues at the Colmo Police Department, who said that it was actually his fiance, Veronica, who found the job for JD in Colma. JD filled out the application. She's the one who actually walked it over to the police department. Then we know what happened next. He got hired there. Then he did the lateral move over here to Salinas. After serving 4 years with the Colmo Police Department, he did 2 years with us. Served bravely, described as a warrior, a fighter who fought to the end with this thug who he pulled over that one night, and it cost him his life, unfortunately. But the fact that JD was able to fire back and injure that man, is we're being told, is the reason that man was eventually apprehended after he took himself to the hospital to get treated for a hand injury from a gunshot wound from JD. And as I mentioned, it is the first time we're hearing from the family, from his brother, who was a colleague with him on the Salinas Police Force, who talked about recruiting JD from the Colma Police Department. JD eventually did the lateral move to Salinas, where he did 2 years for us, serving, protecting our community. And then we heard from his fiance, talking about how they were planning a wedding. They were supposed to get married St. Patty's Day, and we would just like to run a little bit of sound, if we have that, from his fiance, Veronica.
Right. Felix, thank you very much. We appreciate that very much. What we're going to do is just let you know exactly what's happening. Thank you, Felix. Let you know exactly what's happening. The video, if you just joined us, video is being shown. The family does not want broadcast on television, and so we obviously are respecting those wishes.
So we are going to let that video play out, then we're going to take you, of course, to probably one of the most emotional moments of the memorial service, and it is a tradition in these kinds of things.
As is tradition for the funeral service of any peace officer, we will have the end of watch called the 10-7. We expect that in the next minute or so. So we're actually going to show you again the picture of Jorge Alvarado, and then when they actually begin that call, they will dissolve from that into the end of watch. Following that, there will be a flyover, and then the release of doves before all are dismissed. And among those 1,000 or so that are there, according to our Felix Cortez, are law enforcement representatives from literally all over the country.
All over the country. We're told as far away as New York City. Also, a lot of officers covering for Salinas PD today so that they could attend this memorial, because the job goes on. They still have to be out there patrolling. So a lot of officers from departments across California covering for Salinas PD. And that is part of the tradition as well, because this is a really important moment for the police department and the community, sort of this culmination of grief that has been happening for 2 weeks, to come together and celebrate a life and also honor a life.
Following the ceremony, in fact, we will be talking with our Phil Gomez, who's at Salinas PD, on exactly how that process has worked and how Salinas Police actually did their part when we had the service for Sergeant David Gutzwiller in Santa Cruz County, and for the officers in Santa Cruz, Butch Baker and Elizabeth Butler.
Back in 2013.
Yeah, and so this is a moment where officers from across California, across the country, gather together to pay respect, and it is a moment where they actually are able to identify and let some of that emotion out that they don't actually openly deal with on a daily basis, because every time they get into a car, their life is at risk. And you can't talk about that all the time. You make yourself crazy.
Right.
So
we want to just take a moment and go to Action News 8 reporter Phil Gomez, who has some more information about how these officers are covering for Salinas PD so that they can be at this memorial. Phil?
Well, right now I'm at the Salinas Police Department, and we've seen a handful of people walking up to the Salinas Police Department to drop off flowers, offer condolences, and also to get lost in their, if you will, in their own little thoughts. Now, while Salinas law enforcement officers attend the memorial for fallen Officer Alvarado, a dozen agencies from across the Central Coast have filled in for officers who otherwise would be on duty. It wasn't your typical morning briefing at the Monterey County Sheriff's Office. Officers and deputies from multiple agencies, that includes Santa Cruz, San Benito, and Monterey counties, are gearing up to cover those shifts. Although the turf is new and the uniforms are all different, these men and women are here for the same reason, to keep the public safe while Salinas pays their respects to Officer Alvarado, and these agencies didn't need any persuading to provide that help.
The night that Officer Alvarado was killed, we had agencies pouring in to help out, okay? So it's not a call any agency ever wants to make, but when you ring that bell, we get a lot of support.
And back live now for the end of Watch.
Attention all units, prepare to copy a final radio broadcast for Tuesday, 8, Officer Jorge David Alvarado, batch number 213. Tuesday, 8 Center. Tuesday, 8 Center. Tuesday, 8 Center. Negative response from Tuesday, 8. Today, we mourn with very heavy hearts because we've lost a dear son, brother, fiancé, family member, and officer. Tuesday, 8, Officer Jorge David Alvarado, you have represented everything that makes the Salinas Police Department exemplary. Your commitment, dedication to duty, and care for others was evident every day you put on your uniform. Although fate only allowed you to serve with us for 2 years, you made a lasting impact on our department, your fellow employees, and the community to which we serve. Your legacy did not end that fateful night. Your memory will remain in the hearts of all the souls you've touched. Although you will be dearly missed, please know that our community is a better place because you were here. Your heroic actions that night were in keeping with the highest standards of the Salinas Police Department and will never be forgotten. Attention all units, County Communications shows Tuesday 8, Officer Jorge David Alvarado, badge number 213, OD for the final time. Officer Jorge David Alvarado from the City of Salinas Police Department, end of watch, February 25, 2022. May you rest in peace. We have the watch from here. KTS 764, we're at 2241 hours.
That is the flyover. You can hear it now. the flag over to honor Jorge David Alvarado Jr., Salinas PD. You just heard the end of watch call, the 10-7 out of service as of the 25th of February, 2022. The officers there with doves in front of Jorge's mom and the family. And the release of doves, symbol of peace, as the community of Salinas goes on without one of their own.
This really does mark the end of the public grieving process that's going to go on for a long time.
Will you please remain seated while the family is...
The family will be escorted out. You have been watching coverage of the memorial service in honor of Jorge Alvarado Jr., JD, George, many other nicknames. Hero is the one that comes to mind the most.
Hero and warrior, as we have heard many times today, but also a young man, just 30 years old, set to be married next week. Also, we're saying, be kind to Salinas police officers. They need your support right now.
As do all law enforcement officers who are out there in support of Jorge and his family. We want to thank you for joining us for this live coverage of the memorial service to honor George today. We will have continued coverage coming up at noon with our Lauren Seaver, and again at 5, 6, and 11.